Hey everybody, welcome back to Run and Gun, and if you've never been to the channel before, my name is JT. My primary profession is a military photographer, and this channel is all about my photography, what I've learned as a military photographer in the last 4 years, what I've learned as a photographer in general over the last 10 years, and combining all that knowledge and being able to teach you as much as I can, providing you with tips, tricks, and hacks that you can use right away to immediately improve your photography. So, I have to start off this video with a confession. I have not touched a camera in at least 5 weeks, and it kind of hurts, it kind of stinks. I was doing some spring cleaning yesterday, and I pulled my D5 out of the closet, and it felt good just to hold a camera in my hands. I've been taking some college classes in the last couple weeks, and I've been giving 110%. Just more stuff, some leadership knowledge, some leadership management classes I've been taking, just so you guys kind of know what's going on with me. But I pulled my D5 out of the closet for the first time in 5 weeks, and it felt so good just to hold it. I had to go off, take a couple photos, and I thought it would be very appropriate. I haven't talked about my D5 too much. So in this video, I'm going to break down for you some of my thoughts. I'm not going to go into that technical side because you can Google the specs and the facts about the Nikon D5, but I want to give you my thoughts, and I'm just going to give you some of my general thoughts on what I like or dislike about the Nikon D5. So without further ado, let's get into it. So like I've said, I've had the D5, I think it's been at least 6 months now. Time just flies by. The D5 is an absolutely fantastic camera. It runs nowadays, at the time of making this video, anywhere between probably $5,500 and $6,500, and that is body only. Right now I have Nikon's 14mm 2.8 ED lens on here. You can see, I know it's probably going to bother you, some of you, for the rest of the video. I do have, this is indented a little bit. I had a piece of aircraft maintenance equipment fall on top of this in a van, so if it's going to bother you for the rest of the video like it would bother me, I'm sorry. I did dent my lens hood, and it is a nice solid piece of aluminum, I believe it's made out of, that goes around here. This is a ridiculously sturdy lens. I had a huge piece of equipment fall on it. My lens is absolutely fine. The glass is fantastic. That is why I love this 14mm lens. But again, I digress. Let's get back into talking about the D5. So the D5 is weathered sealed. With Nikon's high-end cameras, they're probably all weather sealed, but that is a huge selling point for me, being weather sealed. I'm in North Dakota right now. We get blizzards, and I don't get to stay inside the whole time. I still have to photograph our mission outside, and weather sealing is absolutely critical to keep my camera going, even when it's soaking wet or freezing cold, or there's dust, dirt, debris flying at me. The weather sealing is a huge factor, and the D5 and Nikon really came through when it came to weather sealing. I was shooting some photos of a winter survival training, and the D5 was absolutely covered in snow. There's a helicopter flying above us. It kept landing and taking off, and just snow and chunks of ice were flying at me. My lens would cover up with ice. My lens was freezing over. My viewfinder on the back was full of slush and ice. The back, everything, just ice and snow and water, and it was freezing out. And the D5 came through like a champ, and I attest that probably to the weather sealing. It is fantastic. So let's move on, talk a little bit about the video. The video in the D5 is pretty great. It shoots 4K video, 3840 by 2160. That's pretty awesome. Most cameras these days are having that capability to shoot 4K. The video quality is pretty great. I would absolutely shoot on my GH5 over the D5 any day for video. It's not that great, but it is pretty awesome. It has a flat profile automatically in there. If you're into color grading your footage, you can get a very flat profile. I'm not really sure on how that affects the dynamic range, but I prefer to shoot flat versus standard or neutral when it comes to video on the D5. It is some pretty clean looking video though. If you're buying the D5, solely for video. So as you probably already know, the D5 has a full frame sensor. I absolutely love that. I love the shallow depth of field, especially when shooting at, say, 2.8, or if I throw my 50mm 1.4 or 1.8 on here, that shallow depth of field is absolutely gorgeous, especially on this 20 megapixel sensor. The D5 also has a pretty awesome low light capability. I believe the highest ISO is 102,400 to be exact. I've never taken it past 6,400 and gotten a really usable image. Those high ISOs are more gimmicky than anything. You're never really going to be shooting anything at 102,000 ISO and get a usable image out of it. It's just there to sell more cameras. But at 1250 ISO, absolutely gorgeous. 800 ISO, fantastic. Getting up there to 3200, 6400 ISO, it's creeping up there quite a bit with noise, but the autofocus in that low light is fantastic as well. On top of that image quality, that's one of the reasons I love the D5. So to transition, talk a little bit about autofocus. There's 153 autofocus points in the D5, and low light autofocus performance is absolutely fantastic. I love it when I'm in a dark room that only has 1 or 2 lights. The D5, that autofocus is snappy and it's fantastic. Now the Nikon D5 is a heavier camera. It weighs a little over 3 pounds just by itself, and that is, I believe, the build quality. This is built like a rock. It's built tough. I trust that if I'm going to drop this camera, it's still going to function, and I can beat this camera up a little bit and it's still going to function. The ergonomics are pretty awesome. It is big, but it feels great in your hand. It feels sturdy. It feels durable. Like it's going to get the job done. I love the D3, the D4, the D5. They all have this bottom battery grip automatically built in, and I can shoot right from here. I can autofocus right from here. I love it. I can change my shutter speed or aperture, whatever I program, to right there. There are plenty of function buttons that I can add functions to. The D5 also has HDMI out. You can run that to a viewfinder, another monitor. There is a headphone jack. There is a 1/8 inch microphone jack, USB 3.0, and the D5 all around a very well built camera. Do I have anything negative to say about the D5? Not really. Weight is one of them. There's so many functions in this that it makes it worth it, but I definitely think about bringing my D5. I gotta think about, it's huge, it's heavy. Do I wanna bring my D5 or do I wanna bring my GH5? So that is definitely a factor when it comes to the D5. I imagine with most people out there, price is definitely a factor. I got lucky, I didn't have to pay for my D5. The military gave me this and checked this camera out to me, but on my own, I probably wouldn't be able to afford the D5 unless I was working full-time as a wedding photographer or some other kind of photographer that was really raking in the cash to be able to pay this off right away after a handful of shoots. So those are my thoughts on the D5. If you guys want to check out the D5, absolutely do it. Check out the specs if you're thinking about buying this camera. Compare it a little bit. And as I said, I'm going to do a comparison between the D5 and its video capabilities and the GH5 and the GH5's video capabilities. So stay tuned for that video. I'll let you guys know when it's released. And I hope I gave you a little bit of insight into the D5. That is all for this video. Thank you guys for joining me. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification button up there so you know when I'm dropping my newest videos. And hit that like button. I would really appreciate it. And until next time, make sure you get out and go shoot.